Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode 75, presented by our friends at Game Toppers LLC. Upgrade your gaming experience with Game Toppers LLC. Gumbo Live is the #1 Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. Our special guest tonight, Elizabeth Hargrave, the designer of the hottest game on the planet, Wingspan. Can't wait to talk to her about that. Board Game Gumbo is a fine member of Punchboard Media. Check out all of our other fine members like Open Seat Gaming. Marty, Scott, and Sarah have a great blog that focuses on ensuring that everyone that wants to join the board gaming hobby knows that no matter what their background, everyone has a seat at the table. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Hit us up on social media tonight. Elizabeth's ready for your questions. Twitter at Board Game Gumbo, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, and we will be looking for your questions in the chat. But enough blather, let's get right to our guest, Elizabeth Hargrave. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, you are a designer, so I don't have to tell you what the elevator pitch is. Give us the elevator pitch. Who is Elizabeth Hargrave?
I am a game designer. I live just outside of Washington, D.C. I first moved here to work for the federal government, although now I am just a freelance consultant doing healthcare policy stuff. And then Wingspan is my first published game. I have 2 more in the works.
2 more in the works. Wingspan, yeah. I think I've heard of it. New York Times, it's everywhere. I was Twitter snooping. And I'm going all the way back to some of your early posts.
Is anything on Twitter really snooping? It's all out there.
I was sitting there going, oh, look, this is like years before the game came out. And you're just talking about the development, everything. Think back to Elizabeth Hargrave, 2014, 2015, 2016, just getting into it. Did you ever imagine you'd be here on the hotness, a game in the top 100? Did you ever imagine that?
No way. Never. I mean, there's so many great games that come out every year, right? That never really sort of make it past that first print run for whatever reason. And this has just been beyond anything I could have imagined.
Elizabeth, it's a live show tonight, and we've got my producer, Steve O'Rourke, the name father we call him. He's out there. We're having a little bit of trouble with the chat, but let me see if I can put up his comment. He's saying, hello, welcome all to the special extra episode. That's right. We normally do Gumbo Live on Tuesday nights, but I wanted to make sure we could get you in. And he says, break a leg, BJ and Elizabeth. That is the name father. He's got some jambalaya cooking up for you later in the show. So can't wait to get to that, Elizabeth.
All right.
Hey, tell me about some of the spiciest games you've played. And I know one of them that you've played that's coming out on Kickstarter pretty soon. A lot of us can't wait to play it. Tussie Mussy. Tell us about Tussie Mussy.
Yeah. Tussie Mussy is an 18-card game. It's going to be coming out from Button Shy. I threw it together for a contest they had last year during Gen Can't, for the big conference for people who can't make it to Gen Con.
I don't know if you can see it, but I have it thrown up there on the screen.
Yeah. And they've actually just put out some teaser images of the new art, which is by Beth Sobel. Which is just beautiful. So the image you have there is the placeholder I had for my contest submission last August. There you go. That's beautiful art.
We know what we're doing here on this live show.
Yeah. So it was inspired by the concept. There was this fad in Victorian England where people assigned lots of meanings to different flowers. So if you gave someone a snapdragon, it meant something very specific. And so kind of riffing on that, I came up with an 18-card game that where you're giving other people flowers. And when you give your neighbors flowers, you give one of them face up and one face down, and they have to pick which one they want and which one you're going to get back. And then they sort of score based on what else you have collected over the round of people giving and taking flowers. So something might be much more valuable to you than to me, and I have to sort of guess, okay, if you're showing me this one face up, is it because you want it and I think something is better that's face down, or vice versa, and that kind of thing.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so that was sort of how I tried to squeeze a lot of interesting decisions into just an 18 card deck, which was a fun challenge after having worked on Wingspan, which has 170 cards. It was a totally different design proposition.
From 170 to only 18.
Yeah,
Verla's checking in. Verla says Tussie Mussy is a great title. I was thinking, is that where we got the red roses are for one thing, yellow roses are for another thing, white roses? Was that kind of a period when they were assigning all these different feelings to flowers?
Yeah, I don't know if the roses, if that goes even further back than this particular fad, but the meanings that they have now are the ones that you see in the Victorian flower dictionaries. Yeah.
I did Google it just to see what it was, and there's a bunch of videos with people that actually are still invested in bringing flower. You know what I'm talking about? There's a lady from England named Linda, maybe, or something like that has all these videos about flowers and their names and what they are.
Right. There was a novel that came out in the last couple of years that sort of built on the whole concept too. Yeah. So I keep sort of a running list of game ideas as I see little things out there that fascinate me, and this was on my list. And when the button shy contest came up, I was like, oh, maybe I'll play with that for an 18 card thing. That would be fun. So
18,
here we are.
What a challenge. 18 cards. How scary was that, trying to, let's face it, trying to get some meat on the bones, as they say, in
that's
just
the
18
challenge.
cards.
That's the real challenge, is trying to figure out how to make there be something there with that few cards. But in general, it's a pretty low pressure proposition, right? It's like 2 sheets of paper. You can fit 9 cards on a sheet, and you can go through a lot of iterations pretty easily. So exactly. Yeah. So.
Okay, so you worked, when we're going to talk about Wingspan in a little while, but you worked with Beth, or the game worked with Beth as one of the featured artists, but you also have Beth on for Tussie Mussy. How did that happen? Was that something that Button Shy did, or was that something that you did?
I mean, they were responsible for landing her, but they definitely reached out and asked if there was someone I would like to work with. And I said, I think this might be up Beth's alley.
Well, Verla says, might make her break her no Kickstarter rule for only the second time ever. Hey, Verla, I will tell you, I actually own a Button Shy game or two. The one that Nat Levan did in particular. I know I remember that one. And you can't beat them. Button Shy, they close the campaign, they work on the campaign, and then they deliver to you. No fuss, no muss. Yeah. There's none of the drama that you have with other Kickstarters. You get it right on time, just like they promised. And he keeps churning them out month after month. And let's face it, not every one of the games that I've played are amazing, but some of them are. I just can't believe they did that with only 18 cards.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of the Button Shy format before, or did the contest
I really looked into it mostly because of the contest. I was kind of aware. I've been playing a bunch of Sprawlopolis lately, though, which was their big hit at when was that?
The last year. Yeah.
Yeah, beginning of last year. Yeah, and that's another one where it's just like, I can't believe this is only 18 cards. There's so much packed into this game. So
I don't want to get you off track. I don't want to get you off track, but Steve and I have been, the Name Father and I have been texting all day. He's very excited about something I know nothing about. He says he loves that you're always open to ideas whenever they present themselves, be it Victorian flower meanings or selective breeding of foxes in Siberia. And he texted me the name of this thing. I can't even pronounce it. So maybe you could help us out. What is he talking about with this fox game?
So I have, the game one of the 2 games that I took to Unpub this year, is based on this experiment that happened in Russia starting in the 1950s and is actually still ongoing, where they literally just bred foxes, picking the friendliest foxes every generation and breeding them until in a surprisingly short amount of time, they started getting animals that looked more like domesticated dogs, right? So they were like wagging their tails and barking and doing things that we expect from domesticated dogs and not acting as much like foxes. And so I have a game that's sort of, Belief, is the name. That's the name of one of the geneticist that started it all. And it was illegal when he started it. So my game sort of is taking traits and passing them down to pup foxes and sort of playing with that genetics idea. And there's a bunch of dice placement that goes on because of its genetics. You have to have random dice,
Sure.
right?
I've seen on Twitter some pictures of a game with a fox name in it that you were playing a year or two ago. Is that the game?
Maybe.
It was
Yeah, probably. I've been calling it just To Tame a Fox.
Tame a Fox. That's
Yeah,
it. To Tame a
yeah,
Fox. That's right.
yeah, yeah.
That's the one I saw.
Yeah.
So
So
how
we'll see where
does
that
the
ends
game
up
actually
at that point in
play?
flux.
Is it 2 players, 3 players, 4 players? What is it?
Right now I've been doing 2 to 4. It might be able to go higher. And you start out with foxes that have just a few of, there's 5 traits that it tracks. So like friendliness, barking, tail wagging, things like that. And you start with some that have just a few filled in. You roll dice, and based on which of your 3 dice you pick, that determines which traits get passed down to the pup based on certain rules. And so then you have the pup has little holes cut out in the card, and you're like sticking little chits in to represent that those traits have been passed on. And then you're using your extra dice to maybe do things that help you fill in more traits, so that over time your pups are getting more and more domesticated.
All right, so Wingspan 170 cards.
Yes.
Tussy Mussy 18 cards.
Yes.
Clearly, To Tame a Fox has like 1,700 cards. I would assume, right?
No,
because
there's a few
you have
starter cards and then a
170.
bunch of blanks and a bunch of dice.
That's nice. Hey, Bliss Wise checking in from the Sinlaw group. She says the artwork is beautiful, and that is a signature of your games. All of the games that we're seeing so far have just absolutely gorgeous work. John James Audubon is a big figure in Louisiana history here because he spent only a short time here, but while he was here, he was just really impressed in that Louisiana, Mississippi area with all of the numbers of birds that came through the flyway. I think it's called the Mississippi Flyway. I forget the name of it, but he charted them in his Audubon books, and there's museums there. We have a giant $1 billion bridge named after him. He's a big figure. Everyone in Louisiana knows that art style. And when I saw the first, the first prints the first social media photos from Wingspan, I knew right away, at least I thought in my mind, wow, they're kind of going for that Audubon realism, but I don't want to call it fanciful, but it's almost pleasurable realism. It's real, but it's not stark real. It's almost got energy to it.
Right. A lot of the birds are sort of in more energetic poses than they would be in a typical field guide. Like the cover, which I have sort of here.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
The scissortail flycatcher that's on the cover, that's actually one of the card illustrations that we just realized would also make an awesome cover because it is so dynamic. And those birds in flight definitely took the artist longer because it turns out when a bird is flying, you can see more of its feathers. It's a lot more work. But they did have fun with some of them and really go for it and go for it.
Have you ever been able to see the original James J. Audubon, the artwork, any of it?
I've never seen them in person. Okay. But I've seen a lot of them online. I know you can, because they're like public domain now, you can look at them online.
So back to Tussy Mussy, 18 cards coming out on Button Shy. Verla says, hey, I finally got a chance to play Circle the Wagons a few weeks ago, and she can see why Steven is always recommending it. He loves playing that Circle the Wagons.
Yeah.
What is the Kickstarter timeline? Do you know?
I think it's going to be around the end of May. So maybe May 28th, somewhere in there.
May 28th, end of May. Okay, so right during the convention season kicking up, and that'll be Tussy Mussy, 18 cards from Button Shy Games, and that's the next game that Elizabeth Hargrave has coming out. So one of the things I'm noticing, you don't go, at least we've seen with the first 3 projects, we're not seeing trolls, zombies, your typical tropes. and I really enjoyed Quentin and Aaron's podcast interview with you on Boards Alive. I think it was posted last week, but and I got to listen to it this past weekend. And I noticed that was one of the things that at least you said on the podcast. You really were interested in finding new themes. Where do these themes come from? Is it just driving around thinking, or is it seeing things, or has it been germinating in the back of your mind all these years?
Yeah, the birds was sort of the first one, and directly came out of the conversation with friends that was like, why are there no games about things we're actually interested in? but then, once I was sort of bitten by the design bug, I literally just keep a list of things that I'm like, oh, that could be a game. And I don't know where they come from. Yeah, things I see out in the wild. I listen to a lot of podcasts that aren't board game podcasts. So things like Radiolab and Curiosity Daily and Freakonomics, other things like that. I don't know, just things about how the world works. To me, I love games that tell real world stories, and that sort of give you a window into something that you might not otherwise think about, but that's like something that's actually out there in the world. That's really interesting to me.
Where did you hear about Tussie Mussy? Were you familiar with that before the contest?
I don't remember where I first heard about that. It might have been the novel that came out a few years ago. That's about, I think it's called The Language of Flowers or something like that.
The language,
Yeah.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
The Language of
Yeah.
Flowers. I have seen that. BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest Elizabeth Hargrave. She is the designer of Wingspan, and we're going to be talking about it in a little while. She's got a new Kickstarter coming out from Button Shy Games, Tussie Mussy. There's a game that I've been playing, and I don't know if you've seen it on the internet. Have you got a chance to check out Tiny Towns yet? Have you seen that anywhere?
I got to play an expansion for Tiny Towns at Unpub this year.
Oh wow! Okay, so you're ahead of me on that.
So I haven't played the base game without the expansion, but I got to play both at once. Well, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
To tell a little bit about it, it's a game that AEG is putting out. Peter McPherson is the designer, as you may know. I guess maybe you saw him at Unpub. Yeah. He'll be on the show next week.
Great.
So Peter,
super nice.
Yeah, that's I can't wait to talk to him. Peter sent me this game. This is what I'm always looking for, and tell me if this is the way that if you know any game groups like this, or maybe this is your own personal gaming. I game with my spouse a lot, my wife, and she's a teacher. When it's Thursday night, after being with kids all week, grading papers and all that, she wants to play a game, but it's not going to be a 2 or 3 hour game. It's going to be something not simple. She doesn't mind depth. It just needs to finish in under an hour. My buddy Chris Kirkman always calls those 1 hour wonders. And I love that phrase. And our power hour type games. And that's what she's looking for. She always says, I just want something that'll take my mind off of the work week and explore something, a kind of a cool mechanic, but not in such depth that it's going to tax our brain. So I'm always looking for those games that have a lot of depth to them, but I can teach them fairly easily, and she's still going to see all that puzzle. So I brought Tiny Towns back. It's a review copy from AEG, and we played it once. She struggled with it the first time, and at the end, I knew that she was hooked because she was like, "Ooh, I know what I should have done better."
That's
set it up again.
Yep.
We played it 3 times that night, and I think we played it 6 times more since then. We brought it with us on a little vacation, and we played it. She wanted to play it back to back. Is that the kind of gaming that you look for? Games that don't necessarily take 2 or 3 hours, but still give you still scratch that itch of some good meat on the bones.
Oh, I love that range. Yeah. I have sort of 2 sets of people that I play with. I have one group that just loves the heavy stuff, but then a lot of my friends that aren't like hardcore gamers are also parents of small children and can't take on the big heavy stuff right now. And so that hour length that still has like some good puzzly thinkiness to it, they don't want to play the super light filler games, but they're not up for much more than an hour.
When we had younger kids, it was the same way. I had a long day, we're cooking for the kids, we're cleaning. By the time 8 o'clock rolls around, we're not going to play a long game. And that's why we got hooked on these little smaller 2-player games like Lost Cities. Oh my God. We played Lost Cities. I tell you the truth, I don't even know how many times, 20, 30, 40 times, because it was easy to just break out and play before we went to bed on our little Thursday night, game night. But I'm glad to see that we're not the only ones. There are other people that want to play longer games, and it's not that she doesn't. She loves New York 1901. That's her favorite game, but we just don't always have time for those kind of things. Hey, Bliss Wise checking in. She says she wanted to tell you that she played Wingspan with her kids, age 7 and 9, And not only did they enjoy the game, she told me this when she was texting me today, they also got so much knowledge from the game, from the birds. So she just wanted to say
That's awesome.
thanks for doing that. How does it?
I've loved seeing how much kids are drawn in by the artwork. Like, I think there's just a natural attraction there for a lot of kids that I didn't necessarily expect. And it's been really fun to see.
Bliss says you just described her life whenever you were talking about what it is. Hey, now my kids are all grown and going, so I have a lot more time for gaming, but so a lot of times we play games all weekend, but during the week, both of us are just, a lot of times just tired. And I'm always looking for those kind of games. The reason I bring it up is I'm glad that there are designers out there like you that are putting games out there like this, because I will tell you, I'm not big into negativity, but every once in a while I'll hear that little negative thing of, well, that's not really gaming. And I think people don't understand that there's a segment of us that really want to play bigger games. We just don't have time for it. And we enjoy the little 30-minute to 45-minute to hour game. I don't know what your normal playtime is on Wingspan, but my wife and I can knock out a game and, the two players, we can knock out a game in under an hour. You know?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sometimes half an hour once you really know it. Yeah.
I think it was 40 minutes our last game, something like that.
And something else that I've noticed is, I mentioned that I sort of have two different styles of groups that I play with. And the Friday night group that I make it to, a couple times a month is almost all guys, right? And all the women are home with their kids, and the guys have gone out to play the 2 and 3 hour games. And so I think if we really want to expand the hobby and make it accessible to a lot of folks who are still the primary caregivers for their children, we gotta have games that have some depth to them, but aren't like so long that you just can't imagine taking it on for the evening.
Yeah, and guys need to stay home sometimes also.
That too. That's a different battle.
my Wednesday night, my regular Wednesday night Gumbo game night really did not start until my kids were both of my older kids were out of high school, and my youngest kid was a junior in high school or sophomore in high school. And frankly, we didn't see him much. He was either doing sports or he was doing school. So it wasn't anything. Wednesday nights wasn't a big deal if I wasn't around. When the kids are younger, I agree. If both parents are gamers, and sometimes the problem is it's not always that both parents are gamers. And what's weird is it's not always the guys. I get a lot of people that check in on the show, and it's the lady that games, and her husband doesn't like gaming at all. Yep. So, hey, husbands, stay home. If your wife is a gamer, stay home. Let her go to a nice little gaming group. And explore some of these bigger, longer games. But don't look down on the 45-minute game experience. That's all I'm saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Verla says, yes, she's so with us on the 1 hour or less wonders. There's nothing wrong with us. Exactly. And if you haven't checked it out, Chuck Yeager runs a Facebook that a lot of us are friends we meet up on this Facebook group called the Gateway and Filler Games Group. And that's what we focus on. We focus on those 30-minute, 40-minute, 1 hour or less games. And it's so nice to have a big group of people that don't judge us, because that's the kind of games we like to play. So if you like this kind of games, come hang out with us on the Gateway and Filler Games group on Facebook. So that is Tiny Towns. You've already played the prototype you said for the expansion, right?
Yep.
So, just to tell people a little bit about the game, how would you describe Tiny Towns?
Ooh, I've only played it the once, but it's an interesting mechanic where you have the different pieces that you can see there on the board, and each round, people are deciding on a color, right? And everyone at the table gets a cube of that color.
That's right. And you got to place it on your grid.
And then you have to decide exactly how to use it. And so everyone's getting the same resources, but because of what you've already put onto your board, those resources might have very different values to different people depending on where they're putting them and what they're trying to go for. And then once you've got a certain cubes out, then you can buy buildings with them, which are those cards that you can see there.
There's a game that we used to, there's a game that my wife and I used to play called Karuba. I don't know if you've played Karuba or not.
It's been a while.
We love Karuba, but there's a lot of my friends that say, there's no player interaction in Karuba. It's just multiplayer solitaire. That's what I like about tiny towns. It gives me that town building feeling, right? Where I'm making something and I have to make spatial puzzle decisions on where to place things, and decisions like that can really bite you in the butt later on if you don't think it through, or look at the cards that are in the tableau for this particular game and see what the patterns are going to emerge. But the really interesting twist is the one you mentioned, the fact that let's say you're playing a 5-player game, you're only going to call your color once every 5 turns. It's not like Karuba where they're just flipping stuff up randomly. People are calling out the cubes, the colors, the resources that they need, not necessarily what you need. So you need to kind of pay attention to what other people are doing to make sure you're building something that complements other people. Otherwise, they're going to keep calling stone and you don't need stone.
Right.
Ooh,
right.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, it's a really interesting sort of combination of simultaneous play, but still turn-based. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I like it a lot.
The other thing I've been telling people is that when you have simultaneous play, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this particular case, I haven't played it with 6 players yet, but I played it at a bunch of other player counts, and I don't seem to notice much of a difference in time because everybody's kind of playing at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that I like. Are you attracted to town building games at all? Is that something you see yourself playing?
I definitely like games where you're building something. Whether it's a town or like in Wingspan, just your tableau of birds. Like I like having something to show for what I've been doing in the game. It's fun.
BJ from More Game Gumbo, I've got my guest here, Elizabeth Hargrave, the designer of Wingspan, the hottest game out there on the planet. You cannot find it at your game stores, but rumors are telling me that people are getting them in the next week or two, or maybe around that time. Is that right?
So game stores have been getting them. I think over the last week, even there's been a flurry of people on the Wingspan Facebook page saying that, oh, I got my copy. So that there was a shipment of about 5,000 games that came in this month. There's another 15,000 coming next month, I think.
I just remembered one of the guys. So I don't actually own a copy. I ordered it from a friendly local game store, even though I'm a champion, which I should have just done it through Stonemaier. But I ordered it from my game store. I wasn't expecting the big blow up, right? I ordered from my game store. He doesn't get one, not one single copy. But a friend of ours did order it through the Champions program. So that's the copy that we have literally passed around to everybody until they can come into circulation. We brought it to the Southern Board Game Fest. Now, this was my buddy's personal copy. We had one copy at the Southern Board Game Fest that was in use. It stayed in use all day. I had mine on the side because mine was one of the demos. This was a scheduled demo that somebody was going to play all day. Well, we were broadcasting live with the iHeart Board Games crew. All day, they came up to me and were like, can we borrow your Wingspan? Yeah. Go ahead. It stayed played all day. The 2 copies of Wingspan were constantly being played. Well, I heard good news. The 2 guys that they tried to buy it at the con, of course, it wasn't available. The 2 guys posted on Facebook today that they got their copy in today and they're going to be playing it tomorrow. So they're excited. All right. So that's enough talk about how tough it is to get. Wingspan is available. Tell us a little bit about what the game Wingspan is all about.
So in Wingspan, you are building a tableau of birds, and each bird that you add to your player mat, which you can see in the picture there, is going to help you in at least one, if not more ways. So first of all,
look how photogenic that game is. Look at that.
They did a great job with the art. So Beth Sobel did the player mats, and then there were 2 other artists that did all of the bird illustrations. There are 3 habitats that you can put your birds into. There's forest, grasslands, and wetlands, and each one of those is associated with a different resource in the game. So forests get you more food, the grasslands get you more eggs, the wetlands get you more cards. And as you add birds to each of those rows on your player mat, you get better at doing that thing just for having more birds in that row. Right, so that's what you can see sort of in the forest in the picture there. As you fill up those spaces, then you are drawing more dice for the food. In addition to that, most of the birds have powers on them that get activated when you do that row that they're in. So you would take your food for the forest, and then you would activate any of the birds that are in your forest. So you might have a hawk there that gets to go hunting and look at the top card of the deck, and if it's a small enough bird, it eats it and you get a point for it. Or you might have a bird that just lets you take another food from the bird feeder. There's all kinds of different powers on the birds. But you're sort of building up this very powerful engine over the course of the game because each bird helps you in a couple of different ways.
The game is built for 1 to 6 players. Is that right?
5.
1 to 5 players. I'm sorry. 1 to 5. Yep. 1 to 5 players. And it has some of the most gorgeous components I've seen in a game like this. Not unsurprising with Stonemaier. Yeah. But one of the things I had explained to my wife right away was, all right, lots of Easter egg colors there in those eggs. Don't pay attention to that. But I'm hearing rumors that we might need to pay attention to that in the future.
Stonemaier said they don't want to use the colors on the eggs as a game element because of color blindness issues. So no, they're just pretty. When I was testing it as a prototype, I had a bunch of poker chips that I had just bought at the thrift store. They were all different colors, and I had sort of picked out the blue and white ones that were all different shades. And I had a couple of people say to me, excuse me, oh, when you have eggs in the game, they should be multicolored like this. And I passed that on to Jamie, and we ended up with these beautiful Easter eggs.
Hey,
so that's awesome.
It makes them. Yeah. It makes for beautiful pictures on there. It really does. It's so good. Yeah. And you know, to tell you the truth, she looked at me and she said, "Oh, okay," and never thought about it again.
Sure, right.
And I'll be honest, I never think about the colors of the eggs after that. It looks very photogenic, but it's not. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a game element. So I have a question. Why Stonemaier? Out of all the publishers out there, why Stonemaier?
So when I pitched it, I picked a bunch of publishers that I knew were going to be at Gen Con the year I went to Gen Con in 2016.
And be careful. Jamie is actually listening right now. So, hey, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
Thank you for checking in.
And so
say some nice things about Jamie here.
So I went through sort of the catalogs of a bunch of publishers that I knew were going to be at Gen Con and tried to figure out who even had a chance of being interested in a game about birds, right? Because if your entire game catalog is entirely like high fantasy and science fiction, like what are the chances that you're going to be interested in it?
Good point.
So that was a good filter. I had really good meetings with 3 different publishers. And yeah, Jamie was, I think, really fascinated by how beautiful this game could be. The concept that I had all of these unique cards, you know, each card is a different bird species. Although I certainly didn't pitch it with 170 cards.
Yeah.
But I think he sort of had a vision for where it could go. Yeah, I was really pleased that he said yes.
I can't imagine an elevator pitch would go well if you said, "Hey, I've got this 170 card game about birds."
Right.
Maybe a different way to pitch it, you know.
Right.
But like you said, it was more organic. And that brings me up to another point. I can't remember if I read this or I heard this, but you talked about how you felt like your game was ready and you went to the pitch meetings. You had talks with 3 people. Jamie looked at the game. I think you said it was Jamie and Alan Stone actually both looked at the game, and they gave you some notes, right?
Right.
So how does that feel as a designer to have what you think is a game that's ready, and then Jamie gets his hands on it?
I mean, I expected it to a certain extent.
Sure.
It's sort of out there in how people talk about how their games get published. Although I think different publishers definitely do different levels of development. And some games need different levels of development. Jamie and I certainly spent a lot of time going back and forth, sort of working out all the kinks and making it better and better and better. And I really value that process. So for me, it was just a tremendous, learning opportunity. And I could see the game getting better. So it wasn't frustrating at all. It was great.
Jamie says, "Hey, it still felt like a lot of cards at the time, but in a good way." He was really impressed by how many unique birds you already had. Do you remember how many you had whenever you pitched it?
I want to say it was somewhere between like 50 and 70.
Which probably felt like a lot.
Yeah, it was. It's a good sized deck already.
I've talked to designers about this, and most of the designers I've talked to, some of them are just, hey, I design my game, it's ready, and that's why I self-publish. I don't want anybody messing with it. Most designers I talk to are collaborative. I mean, designing a game is a lot of hours of just being by yourself, trying something. I was a songwriter many, many years ago, and a lot of songwriting is just sitting there trying out different things by yourself over and over again. The chance to go, and I did some of that, to write songs with another person is just, it's that excitement that, oh, you contribute something and they contribute back and you get instant feedback. So I'm imagining that there was a part of you that had to be kind of excited every time you got a new email from Jamie with some ideas. What is it going to be this time? Was there? Are you a collaborative person?
Yeah, sure. And I think the whole process of needing to playtest your game sort of opens you up to that. Like, you just have to listen to other people and collaborate and take in all the ideas you can. And so, yeah, it felt like a pretty natural extension of that, except Jamie really knows what he's doing and has, several successful games under his belt. So it was great.
I've heard Jamie describe what the kind of comparisons to the game. I have my own ideas on comparisons to the game. What do you say? Who is this game for? What person would like Wingspan? What kind of player?
What kind of player? It is a very low confrontation. Like, there's no take that in the game. So it's really suited to people who.
There's a little bit with a couple of cards. No?
Not much.
We've had fun with a certain card that allows you to decide which players are going to get certain resources.
Oh, sure. But they're still getting a resource. Come on.
They are, but you're looking at that person going, you need a worm, huh? Why don't you start picking out of the thing? Okay. And there's no worms in there, and they're looking at you going, yeah.
Right. So if that feels mean to you, then this is the game for you, because that's like as mean as it gets, right?
Yeah, it's really not mean at all. So you're right. So lower on the player interaction scale.
Yeah, and lower generally on player interaction, which I don't mind, but I know, so if you're looking for a lot of like take that heavy interaction, it is not for you, but it is a great sort of engine builder. If you like building things, if you like beautiful art, if you like birds at all, nature at all, I think it will definitely appeal.
The chat crew is
even if you don't care about birds, I love hearing from all the people who are like, I could not care at all about birds, but I just really enjoy the gameplay of the game. Like, that is so satisfying to me to hear, because I've always sort of said, as I was developing the game, I want this to be a game that gamers enjoy playing, but that really draws on the amazing world of birds. But that it's a good game first.
The chat crew's chiming in. Joshua says everyone would love Wingspan. Okay, Josh, not everyone, but most everyone would love Wingspan. I agree with you there. Bob says, hey, Bob, we haven't seen you at game night, man. You need to come by. Bob doesn't live in my area, but every once in a while he comes around and plays with us. He says, like Wingspan, anybody that likes pretty graphics, learning, and gaming. Yep, that's a good point. I've been wanting my wife to play it for a couple of months, and I finally got her to try it out. She was actually mad. She was like, I should have played with you before. And it wasn't the theme at all. It was just, it's close to that hour length. Okay. And it's got a lot of cards. But I think one of the things that she said, if I remember right, her first impression was, oh, not another Mediterranean game, not another, Viking game. And I'm like, nope, it has nothing to do with that. I think she was actually refreshed with this different take on a game. Nothing wrong with Raiders of the North Sea. We both enjoyed playing it, but there's a lot of games in our collection that have a similar feel to that, and this one felt different.
Yeah, and that was the entire inspiration for the game, came out of that feeling of like, oh, all these games do feel like, trading in the Mediterranean or building castles, or there's like trains. There's certain categories that an awful lot of games fall into.
Josh says, in the many, many times this group has played, we still see new birds pop up or enjoy their work. I've played the game. I'm trying to figure out how many times now, 6 or 8, and I'm still seeing new birds.
Yeah. And I think that was part of the goal when we decided to go for 170 cards, was that feeling of discovery. And yeah, Jamie compared it to Terraforming Mars when he first announced it, which some people have pushed back on. But I think one of the fundamental things that it shares with Terraforming Mars is that huge deck where all the cards are different and you're never going to see the whole deck in one game. And that's just really fun, and it makes every game feel really different.
Jamie also said there were a lot of ideas shared back and forth. He's proud of what he sent you, but you were definitely there. It was a very gratifying collaborative process. So that is great. Bob says, Wingspan brings a refreshing change to gaming. So that is nice. Steve's got a question for you. He says, with Wingspan exploding, it's getting noticed out there, New York Times, BGG hotness. Has it been a whirlwind for you, or has it slowed down? Or, what's this past year been like for you?
It's slowing down a little bit. Things got really crazy with the New York Times article. I was getting a lot of requests for more articles and interviews and things like that. And yeah, but it's been fun. I mean, I'll ride it as long as it lasts. I can't complain.
I'm not sure if Steve, the name father, sent Jamie my notes, because this is one of the questions I was going to ask you on the show notes. He wants to know, the base game focuses on North America, and we're looking at other continents. Is there a North American bird you've discovered since they finished that you find fascinating? And my question was, what's that favorite bird from North America that's not in the game?
Didn't make it in. Yeah, someone else asked me that this morning. I wouldn't say I discovered any since we finished, because I really was looking at the whole list for the whole continent a lot of the time when I was looking at what birds should be in or out. There were birds that got left out because I was trying to sort of do a nice distribution of like East Coast versus West Coast versus Midwest, and like get them so that you have the same number that can live in each habitat, so that if you're looking for a specific habitat, you have even distribution so that you have a good chance of getting what you need. And the same with the nest types. And so, like, for example, one of my favorite East Coast birds is the scarlet tanager. Beautiful bird, beautiful song, bright red with black wings. I left it out because the Western tanager is even more beautiful. And, and the Western tanager is the one that made it into the game. So there's a lot of cases like that of like, oh, if I can only have one of these, I picked one, but I would have loved to have done all of them.
Nice. That's the one. I like that answer. Lazo wants to know, the art in the game is amazing. Everybody agrees that. How was it working with Beth? Were you able to collaborate with her, or was that Jamie's department?
That was really Jamie's department. He hooked up with her. Although he did, send me the first draft of the player match. And, again, she did the player mat and the card backs and the birdhouse and maybe some other things I'm not saying. But all of the bird art was actually two other artists. And I worked a little bit more with them because they were sort of sending me some of their illustrations just to double check that they were on the right track. And they've been on a couple of the species, sent me stuff where they were looking for reference photos for species where, like, if the male's really different from the female, which one did I want? Or, which one of these do you think is more representative of this species, that kind of thing. So that was fun. And then to see the art coming in as they worked on it was amazing. Because I had a lot of, just blank prototype cards where most of the game got tested. I had some placeholder art that I pulled for a lot of games, for a lot of the cards, or especially for sort of the base deck that I first pitched. I had bothered to, pull placeholder art for each bird. But then as we were beefing it up to 170 birds, there was maybe half the deck that was, just the name of the bird in a big white space where the illustration was going to go. So as that started getting filled in, it was pretty awesome.
What was it like that first time you got to play the production copy?
Oh my God, it's amazing. Jamie actually was super sweet. When he got the first production copy, he Skyped me so that I could see it. But then he sent me a copy.
But holding in your hand.
Holding in my hand. Yeah. And then I couldn't say anything, right? Because the whole strategy was, okay, we're going to be top secret about this until we release the information right before it goes live. And so, like, I had it for a couple months and just couldn't say anything. That was hard.
My buddy Jason,
it's so beautiful.
My buddy Jason Dinger designed a game called Captains of the Gulf, and because of the delay of the production to being delivered to America, he didn't get to actually see his own game other than the production stuff, until BGG Con. And
Yeah,
there's a picture on Twitter of him where he's actually on his knees
I
and
saw
he's
that.
holding that copy, and like, tears are coming down. Jason's an emotional
Right.
guy. He'll tell you he's an emotional guy, but he told me, he said, to go from a dream that I woke up in the middle of the night and just kind of sketched out some ideas and dictated on my phone or whatever it was, and then to actually hold the game in my hands, all that labor of, because it really is a labor of love
Yeah.
for people in this industry. So that is awesome that you got to have that
And
experience.
I think people don't realize what the time lag is, right? So we finished my part of Wingspan, the base game, was pretty much done this time last year.
So
right?
you've been holding it in
And then
all the
you're just
time.
waiting. And so and then the art had to be finished and all the stuff had to be proofread and typeset and whatever. And then it's being manufactured for months and then on a boat for a while, and it's there's a long lag time, which we are everyone is experiencing now, because Stonemaier has ordered a bunch more copies of the game and it just takes months for them to arrive.
Jamie wanted to know, have you played a new to you game recently that, because you seem to find inspiration all over the place. Has there been a new to you game that is inspiring you?
It's inspiring me. I've been really, this isn't that new to me. I've been playing it for several months now, but I've been really enjoying Castell. Have you seen Castell? It is delightful. See, and you're making a face. It is an unusual theme.
No, it's not. Oh, I love the theme. You're kidding me? I love European countries, and that when I saw the idea, I was like, oh, the reason is that I have a running gag with my buddy Sagan, who owns a game, that it's what do I call it? It's a calculus the game. Because I'm just so bad.
It's a little heavy for your 1 hour wonder, probably.
I'm just so bad at math, and Sagan's so much better than me, and I'm sitting there trying to put together those numbers, and he's just going blah, 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 and I'm just putting together pretty colors, and I'm so bad at that game. No,
I love the puzzle of it.
It's a fine game. I do love the puzzle of it. Anytime there's a little bit of anytime math gives you an advantage, you're going to hear me complain about it, and it's really just me being tongue in cheek. I'm really picking on myself, not the game, that I'm so bad at Sentient or Castell or Power Grid or any of those games where I like playing them. I'm just so bad at them.
You don't have to actually do any arithmetic, though, do you? It's arranging the things and figuring out all the different permutations.
Now, you've talked to Sagan, because that's what Sagan says every Wednesday night. You don't really have to do math in this game. What? I'm doing shtick, Sagan. I'm doing some shtick. But yeah, no. Any of those type of games. What is inspiring you about that Castell game?
I think part of it is the theme, right? Just another it's a very whimsical theme that 10 years ago might not have even gotten published, and now people are really experimenting with what's doable.
Raise your hand if you saw the game on BGG or on social media a year ago and went straight to Wikipedia to find out, what is this Castell tradition about? I know I did. That's the first thing I did. I wanted to find out, is this a real tradition? What is this going on? And I'm just watching YouTube videos over and over at night, learning about it. So I love that about our hobby.
Yeah. And, living here in DC, we have every summer the Smithsonian Folklife Festival, where they'll pick a few cultures from around the world and bring people from that country and show off their music. And last summer, they actually had Catalonia as one of the things, and they brought over a bunch of Castellers from Catalonia, and people were building human towers on the National Mall. It was awesome. And that just reinforced me loving the game even more, having seen it in person.
And I don't want to get you in trouble if you can't talk about it, but Bob wanted to know, and we did have some talk about it on the chatter before the show started. Is there anything that you and Jamie are ready to hint about or talk about when it comes to the expansion, or not?
So we've said we're going to try and do an expansion for every continent. So the base game is just birds from North America, or some of them also go to other places, but they all exist in North America. So we're going to do one for each continent. Except I'm not sure about Antarctica. They only have 45 birds, and they're mostly penguins. But they're mostly penguins. So
that's the button shy version. Forget Jamie. Go straight to button shy and do a Wingspan Antarctica button shy game with 18 cards. No, I'm just picking.
I think it's pretty safe to say that Antarctica won't be the first one that we figure out.
It probably won't be the first one. Yeah. So any hints as to which continent we can expect?
Maybe? I'm not saying.
No, she can't say. You will neither confirm nor deny that Louisiana is the next expansion.
Louisiana's part of the base game, man.
Yeah, but the
We got your
Louisiana,
Pelicans. We
the,
got
act-
your
the actual, the expansion, you can neither confirm nor deny that Louisiana will be the sole expansion.
Louisiana is not the sole expansion.
Oh, so she is going to deny it. Okay, never mind. All right, Jamie, thank you for checking in on the show, man. We appreciate it. Jamie was a guest a while back. We need to get him back on, so I enjoyed it. We enjoyed visiting. Oh, and look, there's Jason checking in. Oh, Jason, that was
hey, Jason.
We were just doing a bit. We're not expecting you to do Antarctica the game, so but that would be funny though. That would be funny. Hey, quick, you know as well as I do that the buzz and the press that has been happening with Wingspan is bringing people that may not necessarily be board gamers. I've seen crazy stories like Verla had one, tea societies or Audubon societies or bird watching clubs, and they're playing, right? So my question is, what is your tip for those newbies to the hobby, people that haven't played anything but Uno or Monopoly before? What is your tip for those players the first time they play? What's your best tip for them?
That is a good question.
Steve and I share a brain, man. We really do.
And we've actually, there was some discussion on the Wingspan Facebook page of like, could we develop a sort of even easier way for people to get going that I've been thinking about a little bit. But for now, I would say, for me, watching a video is much easier than just reading the printed rules. And there's some very good videos out there. I know Watch It Play did one that teaches the rules. But I would say also just like jump in and start and don't worry about messing up, because you can't mess up that badly. Like any bird you play is going to help you at least some getting your mat going. But if you can get some inexpensive birds with brown powers on them that help reinforce getting more food or getting more cards early in the game, that's probably the way you want to first start and then build from there. But treat your first game as a learning game. Don't worry about messing up. I think a lot of people that haven't played more complicated board games remember the childhood experience of playing board games as like, oh, you don't want to look stupid. Like anyone playing Wingspan with you will expect you to not do well in your first game, and it's fine. And then you've learned the game and you can have more fun next time. But hopefully even the first game will just be fun because you're getting your birds out there. They're beautiful. You'll figure out how it works. It's a nice little puzzle of what you should do next, and you can't mess up too badly. So just have fun with it.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Elizabeth Hargrave. We've been talking about the Wingspan game. It's out there in the wild now. It's at the retailers, so go get it. I played it. I love it. Should have a review up fairly shortly. I just want to get a couple more plays with my wife, and who's only played it once, and that's my primary playing partner. So I definitely want to get that. But Steve says you can't mess up that badly. It's a nice gaming and life philosophy. Yeah, that is right. But no, I liked your tip though, because really just telling people play some brown cards and enjoy the engine building for what it is. Don't get too fancy with the cards the first time. Just have fun and explore them.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I have heard from several people that the thing that is most intimidating to them about modern board games is that feeling of being scared that you're going to look stupid.
Yeah.
Because these games are played by very smart people, right? And I think you just have to not worry about it.
Last week we had, or Tuesday, I'm sorry, we had Dr. Steve Finn on from Dr. Finn's Games. And one of the categories for this game we did called the Boudin Bowl was games that make you feel stupid. Right? And it's true. There's one of the chat crew mentioned Hanabi, and he's right. Playing Hanabi with my family or friends is simple and easy, and we have so much fun. Playing it with gamers is like, who's gonna mess? Don't you dare mess! Don't you mess up? Oh yeah. So you can't mess up that badly. It's a great. We got one more question here. Josh Lee says, how much of a birder are you? What kind of numbers do you have on your life list? This game has brought together two of my favorite hobbies, birding and BG or board games. Thank you. I know the answer to that one, but tell Josh about the fact that you were a birder before that.
I'd have to go look on my eBird. I do keep an eBird list. Okay. I am a birder. I think my life list is in the high 600s. I'd have to look. I care enough to keep track, but not enough to keep the number in my head. I've seen 280 something species just this year because I went to Belize in January. So yeah, I'm a pretty serious birder.
Josh wants to know, do you break 100 and do you have tips for that?
A lot of the games that I see that break 100, it's because there are people who are playing the cards like the hummingbird that you mentioned where you're like giving out more food.
Right.
And then that helps everyone do better. Yeah, I think you get to break 100, you either need people giving you stuff or you need to really just have cards that play well off of each other. And that's going to just be like you figuring out of the stuff you draw how it works together and how to be most efficient bouncing back and forth between the different rows.
Yep. One of the coolest things I like about your game is the fact that each round you lose one action, but the actions get stronger. I remember playing it the first time and just going, wow, that's good. I really, really enjoyed that. All right. BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest Elizabeth Hargrave, the designer of Wingspan, out from Stonemaier Games. It's out there in the wild. People are ready to pick it up at your friendly local game stores or on the net. It's a board game show, though, and so we got to play a game. You know that, Elizabeth.
All right.
So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to play a game called Jambalaya. The rules are very simple. Steve is diabolical. He mashes up board games, sometimes right out of your collection, or topics, sometimes right out of your background. Hint, hint, hint. And he puts them together. So they could be bad. They could be bad puns. They could be true mashups. I'll give you an example so you know what it is. If I said a push your luck dice game featuring the state bird of Louisiana, it's a seabird with a huge bill and a throat pouch. What would we be talking about? We'd be talking about Pelican't Stop. Can't stop the game. And Pelican't Stop. So you see how that works.
Before I got the game. All right. That's
oh yeah. And you know what? Most of the time that is a great way to go. Focus on the game and then try to mash it up after that. The chat crew is going to be competing. They're going to try to outscore you, but this is just a friendly competition. Don't sweat it. This is all just for fun. All right, Elizabeth.
You can't mess up too badly.
You can't. You can't. The record here is 0. Is not getting any of them right. So you can't do worse than that. So don't worry about it. And what's weird, some of the smartest people on the show were having trouble with it because it's just a different way of thinking. So, but don't worry, the chat crew is going to help you out. There's a couple in there that are sharks. So they are really good in this game. So you have the rules?
I think
you ready to play? All right.
All
good.
right.
Here's the first one. What if instead of cows, Alexander Pfister had you deliver small game birds over the rails to Kansas City? What would that game be called?
Great Western Quails.
Great Western Quail. Steve, she shoots the 3-pointer at the start of the game. Wow. And Steve's already putting you in there. Very nicely done. Oh, chat crew, you're in trouble. She's a quick one. All right, here we go. Number 2, when you experience conflict in this romantic relationship themed game, which by the way, my buddy Alex Goldsmith loves this game, better remember to bring along the bird of peace. So when you experience conflict in this romantic relationship theme game, better remember to bring along this bird of peace. The old rom-com.
Fog of Dove.
Fog of Dove. Oh, she's gonna be all over this one, Steve. Gonna have to jump to some tough ones. Verla was right there. Verla said Great Western Quails. They're gonna be a little bit behind because of the lag, with the chat.
Yeah.
And Mitchell, that was a close one. Actually,
that was
good. Oh, we had that on here. It's actually scratched out. Dove letters was our other choice. You and Mitchell, you and Steve. By the way, Mitchell's the one that I was telling you about. He and his buddy Doug finally got their game, and they're gonna be playing tomorrow. So. Mitchell.
Have fun. You can't mess up too badly, Mitch.
No, you can't. All right. So Fog of Dove, but I would have accepted Dove letter because that's a good one. All right. So how about the third one? Even in this cyberpunk dystopian card game, the technology of Acme Inc. still isn't advanced enough to capture this speedy little bird. Well, not little.
Got the bird.
Speedy bird. Not little.
What's the game part of the clue again?
Even in this cyberpunk dystopian card game, the technology of Acme Inc. still isn't advanced enough to capture this speedy bird. Boy, if Carlos was watching tonight, he'd get this game right away.
See, I know I'm competing against the crowd here, so I don't want to. Yeah, I've got the bird.
Oh,
Well,
Laszlo had another
good
one. And then we held doves. Oh, man, we had some. Oh, there was some good ones. Oh, really good ones there. Cyberpunk dystopian card game. Very, very, very popular.
Net Roadrunner. Or I don't know how you want to combine them. Netrunner, Roadrunner.
They're so close. Net Roadrunners are close. That's not exactly what's the name of the game?
Netrunner.
You're missing one word. Who's got it? What's the name of the
Android Netrunner. So Roadrunner Netrunner. Android Roadrunner.
Yes. I was pulling you in. Android Roadrunner.
That sounds much better now that we say
Android Roadrunner. That is it. Oh, I went too fast there. Sorry about that. All right, so let's see what we got next. Here we go. Too bad Jamie had to leave. So this grape crushing, big hint. This grape crushing game has a new mechanic where your carrion feeder meeple waits to feed on the remnants of unsuccessful competitors.
Viticulture vulture. Vitivulture.
Yes, Vitivulture. That's it. Dang, she is on every one of them, Steve. Steve has a reputation for pretty tough ones, but you are just knocking them out the park. This is like the home run derby here. All right, here we go. You ready? This one I would not have gotten, but you're gonna get, I'm sure. A new version of this Redwall-esque fantasy game. You familiar with Redwall?
No.
Books? Okay. A new version of this Redwall-esque fantasy game that replaces the rodents in the books or games with tufted birds. That's going to be a tough one. All right, Charles and
Titmice.
See, I would not have
Titmice and mystics.
That's it. She's got it. Oh wow. The Redwall, big Brian Frank's long series with like 20 or 30 books, and Mice and Mystics is very similar to that world. Little mice battling the big guys. Oh yeah. So not saying it's the same thing, but it's clearly inspired of that. Yep. So wow, Naomi was all over it. Titmice.
Naomi got it.
All right, this is another one. I don't know this bird, but I'm going to throw it to you because I know you're going to get it. You ready? It's a family party game of stacking up colorful components to make the tallest sculpture. You got to mash it with a family of ground foraging birds.
Junco art.
Oh, what is a Junco? I don't know that one.
Oh, they're cute little. We get them in the winter. They're like gray birds with little pink beaks, and they hang out on the ground. Yeah, I don't know.
Man, I don't know that bird.
They might not come to Louisiana, actually, because they go further north than D.C. for the summer. So I don't know how far south they even come in the winter.
And you grew up in the South, right? Aren't you? You're from Florida?
I grew up in Florida. Yeah, I don't remember Juncos in Florida.
Okay, so
although I wasn't as much of a birder then, but yeah, you might not get them there.
It's not something I know. Anyway, all right, here we go. Ready for the next one?
Yes.
A family of small birds, often known for their vibrant colors, that also seeks to collect wood and sheep, maybe even trade wood for sheep. I don't know this bird either. It's not something I recognize from Louisiana.
I mean, so now this one I can think of the game, but I'm trying to think of what part of it. Small birds known for being colorful.
She's finally going to give one up there, Chad Crew.
Warblers of Catan?
Warblers of Catan, no.
Small birds known for being
often known for their vibrant colors.
Vibrant colors.
That also seeks to collect wood and sheep. The clue.
Help me out here, crowd.
Clue is, that's right, Mitchell. It's something Catan. Well, maybe not. So I'll give you a little clue.
Okay.
Maybe it isn't something of Catan.
Something else with wood and sheep.
Here's a hint from Steve. The clue is to tack the bird name onto the end of the game.
The end of the game.
Oh, I like Laszlo's Paracatan. Close, close. Not quite it though. Not quite it. I don't know this bird. So I can't help you.
Settlers of Catanagers.
Oh, she's got it. What is a Catanager? What are we talking about here?
A tanager. So I was saying one of the birds that I left out, the scarlet tanager.
The scarlet tanager.
And so the scarlet tanager is like bright
Western
red.
Tanager.
The Western tanager. When my friends' kids first saw a Western tanager, they called their mom to the window because they thought there was a parrot outside.
It's that
like yellow and orange and red. Yeah, it's beautiful.
You did mention the Toucan like that one. And there Steve said, hey, it was mentioned earlier in the show.
Right.
All right, here we go. A BGG top-ranked game. Well, until Wingspan beats it. Of Euro-style fantasy narrative meshed up with the bird who taunted Edgar from atop the bust of Pallas.
Oh, good Lord. I don't know that reference.
Nevermore.
Oh, that was okay. So Raven.
Laszlo says scarlet tanagers were his favorite bird as a kid.
They are lovely. They're very hard to see. They hang out in the treetops.
A BGG top-ranked game of Euro-style fantasy narrative mashed up with the bird who taunted Edgar from atop the bust of Pallas. Oh, Naomi's got it. Nicely done. Naomi on the board.
Bloom Raven. Bloom. Nice.
Nevermore, quote the Raven. All right, you ready for another one? Here we go. The great pre-Columbian city in modern-day Mexico. Mash it up with the largest flying bird of North America. Ooh, this game is...
California condor.
Well, that's you're right. You're right. But you could...
Condor.
Teotihuacan condor. That's right. Steve just copy and paste. Elizabeth never.
Are we getting ahead of him?
No, I'm just picking because all he has to do is copy and paste your name on every box in our little spreadsheet. All right, here we go. Now this was a tough one. This is a little tougher one. Yeah, you'll probably get it, but let's see. A game about the madness that happens when those small young birds lose all of their feathers. Think Cthulhu meeting the happy birds of the morning. Cthulhu meeting the happy birds of the morning.
I'm trying to think like Arkham Horror, Robins.
Ooh, chat crew, your chance to steal.
Oh, yeah.
She's competitive, though, I can tell. She's got a competitive streak. I was thrown out there, and Steve said, terrible clue. I was thrown out there, think the Harlem Globetrotters, but I don't know if that would help. Joey says, Elizabeth, much respect for your amazing artwork and design. Now, Joey, to be fair, Elizabeth designed the
artwork
game,
is not mine.
but the three ladies who designed it, I just can't remember their names. Beth Sobel, of course, and
Beth Sobel, Natalia Rojas, and Ana.
Look on the game behind you.
Martinez Jaramillo.
Right. So yeah, she did design the game, but Stonemaier commissioned the artist that did all the artwork there. Yeah. All right, any idea? A game about the madness that happens when these small young birds lose all of their feathers. Think Cthulhu meets the happy bird of the morning. You familiar with the Harlem Globetrotters?
I mean, I saw the cartoon some when I was a kid.
Oh, chat! Maybe the
not familiar enough to help me out.
Maybe the chat doesn't know this one.
Yeah, no one else is jumping in. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, I'm Steve. We're gonna have to call this one, I guess. I don't see anybody getting it. Oh man! All right, I'll call this one then. It was Larkham Horror. The Lark.
The Lark, yeah.
As in Metal Lark Lemon. So, but that's a name that not a lot of
Bolting of Madness, nice.
Not bad, Naomi. Not bad. Yeah, or Laszlo, you had the game. It was Arkham, but it was Arkham Horror that Steve was looking for. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
A Mac Gertz game. It's got resource collection. It's got area control, and you collect personality god cards, but they have the bird of prey known for its bullet-like aerial attack. Does that sound familiar at all? You remember any Mac Gertz games?
I'm trying to remember.
Not his Rondell games. Not the Rondell
Oh,
games.
God. Those are the ones I know.
Yeah.
What else has he done?
You're gonna.
I'm sure when you say the name,
you're gonna be mad when I say the name of it. Chat crew should get this one. Mac Gertz game of resource collection, area control, and collecting personality god cards, mashed up with a bird of prey known for its bullet-like aerial attack. If you could get the bird, you might be able to get the game.
I mean, I think the bird's a peregrine falcon.
Okay. All right. So Falcon. Falcon. And it's not Falcon Crest the board game, by the way. I know somebody's out there wants to post that. It's not Falcon Crest the board game.
Someone beat me to it. Come on.
Anyone? They're a little behind on this one. Mac Gertz game, a resource collection, area control, and collecting personality god cards with a bird of prey known for its bullet-like. No, it's not Hawk Roll Player. She's got the right bird. It's Falcon. I'll give you the hint, chat crew. It's a bird, and the bird is a falcon. So what game are we talking about?
Which is Jamie Stegmeier's favorite bird, peregrine falcon.
Oh, is it really?
I'll throw that out there.
Oh, that's why.
Because he was fascinated by fast animals as a child, and the peregrine falcon is one of the fastest birds.
So when he was on the show last year, he had a little clue of the game that is now Wingspan, and the only clue was peregrine.
Yes,
and me and Steve in the chat crew, if you go back and watch that show near the end, we spent like 5 minutes all trying to guess what that peregrine was. What we were thinking, is he, because peregrine is one of the characters in the Rand series, the Dragon Reborn series. We were all over the place with all these different things. We're like, oh, maybe it's a tower defense game, maybe it's a fantasy game, and we were way off on this thing. So Adam Austin's got it. Good job, Fal. Concordia.
I had forgotten that Concordia was Mac Gertz. Okay,
that's it, Fal. Concordia. Nice job.
I'm not
Adam.
sure I would have gotten it anyway.
We only got a few left. You ready?
Go, Adam. Yes.
A baseball team with a bird-inspired name mashed up with a Stefan Feld game set in the South Seas. It's a baseball throw from where you live. A baseball team with a bird-inspired name mashed up with the Stefan Feld game.
Because there's a bunch of baseball. There's a bunch of baseball teams with birds.
Sure.
Okay, but where I live, I know which one that is.
Mashed up with a Stefan Feld game set in the South Seas. Do you know the Stefan Feld game we're talking about out there in the South Seas?
It's not coming immediately to mind, which is embarrassing.
Earl, I'm not sure. Is Pippin's full name Peregrine Took? I don't remember. Oh, we've got some Lord of the Ring fans out there who could help us out with that. I don't remember. All right, so baseball team with a bird-inspired name mashed up with the Stefan Feld game set in the South Seas.
All right, so if we say it's the Orioles, because I live near Baltimore, someone help me out here.
What's a good South Seas game from Stefan Feld that might just
as soon as you say
Orioles?
it, I'm going to feel stupid for not having thought of it.
All right. I think I'm going to call this one. Although I would imagine with the lag, the chat crew's probably got this one, but I'm going to call it. So the baseball team with a bird-inspired name, it's not the Falcons. It's not the Falcons, Bob, but it's Bora Boreals. Bora Bora. Oh, okay. I like that though, Marshall. Orioles of Delphi. Now that's not bad, but that's not the South Seas. That's the Adriatic Sea. So, yeah. So, all right, here we go. Ready? This game is about a peaceful stroll through Japan. It is so hard to find, though, Elizabeth. You might say it's extinct.
Tokai Dodo.
Yes. She got it. That was my clue. By the way. Steve said, "Oh, we used Tokaido already with Carla Kopp because she loves animals." But I was like, okay, she probably hadn't seen that episode, and I just love that clue. You might say it's extinct. All right, so we've got 2 left, and then we'll be done. The first one I'm going to give you. I have no idea what this bird is, so I'm sure you're going to get it though. A Martin Wallace game. I'm embarrassed. I'm a scout leader, and I thought I knew birds, but I guess outside of Louisiana, I really don't know birds. I really don't.
Fair. It's most important to know the ones where you live.
A Martin Wallace game that has recently gotten new versions with different British cities gets another version. This time, it includes a flightless, tropical, and dangerous bird.
Brassowary?
Brassowary, she's got it. Oh, by the way, Naomi did get Bora Orioles. But, remember, there's that little bit of lag. So nicely done, Naomi. Naomi's got a few of them here. But yes, it is.
So cassowaries were recently in the news, right? Because
what's the bird?
So the cassowary.
Cassowary, okay.
Which is, I believe, from Australia, New Zealand, that part of the world. And apparently they have like knife-like claws or something on their feet. And they just killed a guy who had one pet cassowary, killed its owner in my hometown of Gainesville, Florida.
Really?
So it was in the news in the last couple months that this
from Gainesville.
And then it was in the news again because the cassowary is apparently now up for sale.
So are you a Gator? Did you go to?
I didn't go to UF, but I grew up going to UF games for sure.
Huh? Yeah. My the guy I'm swimming with tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I mean at 5 o'clock in the morning, by the way. But the guy I'm swimming with tomorrow, he's a UF graduate, so he loves his Gators, and both of his kids are there. So Gainesville,
awesome. I love Gainesville.
I love the city of Gainesville because we stay there. It's a halfway trip between here and Disney World. That's what. Only thing I know about Gainesville is the little strip of hotel motels they have right off of I-10, because for us it's about halfway to get to Disney World.
There's some great birding spots if you ever want to outside of Gainesville. There's Sweetwater Wetlands Preserve and Paynes Prairie. Are both just amazing. Especially when I go home for Christmas, all the sandhill cranes are there. So.
We got a Gator fan here. Mike says, "Go Gators." Yeah, you misspelled "go" there, Mike. So you need to fix that. Geaux. Sorry about that. All right. So, Marshall says the local zoo here, just north of us, the Alex Zoo, has a couple of cassowaries.
They talk about a bird like that dinosaurs.
I wonder if is it one of those birds that is related to, has been around?
They all are. Yeah. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know where they diverged off of the evolutionary tree, but yeah. They're all related to dinosaurs, right? But I feel like the ones that don't have feathers on their heads look more dinosaur-y, or like what we think dinosaurs look like, which now people think that dinosaurs, actually, a lot of them did have feathers. So Who knows what, like our idea of what we grew up thinking dinosaurs looked like might be totally wrong. But because we grew up with dinosaurs that look like lizards, the birds that don't have feathers on their heads look like we think dinosaurs are supposed to look.
That's what we think, exactly. All right, here's the last one, a nice and easy one. My son Jack's favorite of the Apples to Apples clones, but this one is the very first, and hopefully only vulgar party game about red birds.
Cardinals Against Humanity.
That's it. Cardinals Against Humanity. I gave you a nice, easy one. Cardinals Against Humanity. I don't think we have to tote this up there, Steve. I think Elizabeth kicks some butt. Naomi's got 2 or 3. Adam's got 1, and I think Elizabeth's got them all. The rest of them, nice. Scott, I want to make that game
now. I want to make Cardinals Against Humanity.
Cardinals Against Humanity. Where's Jason? That could be another little button shy game there, right? Cardinals Against Humanity. Would be
awesome.
That would be funny. Cardinals Against Humanity. I'm not sure how that would play though, but yeah, Joey, she's quick, man. She's so what's happening is before I'm even announcing it, we're already congratulating you. By the time they see it, you're so quick on these answers. They're not even
Sorry,
getting to hear it. No, don't even sweat it. No, that was you did.
Hopefully, it was fun playing along, even though I beat you all.
No, that's right. All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank my guest, Elizabeth Hargrave. I'm so glad we got to get you in. There was, it took us a little while to coordinate our schedules, but I had so many people that were excited about you coming in because they really wanted to talk about it. But if they want to reach out to you and talk more about the game or find out more about the game, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I would say two different ways. One, the Facebook page for Wingspan is super active. There's like 4,500 people in there posting bird pictures and talking about the game, and it's super fun. And I try and check in there every day and see what's going on.
Jason's still here. He says Cardinals needs more cards. Cardinals against humanity. We need to make that happen.
All right.
Yeah. What was the other way to get in touch with you?
And then I am also active on Twitter at Eliz Hargrave. So ELIZ. Yeah. My name has too many characters if you spell the whole thing out. Steve's
the one who put together the jambalaya, and he says that was a genuine pleasure. Thanks for playing the game with us.
Thanks, Steve.
We got fun. A lot of people. Naomi says, Elizabeth, thank you so much for creating such a great game. She is excited to play your next two. So see, take a look for that Button Shy. Don't forget that before you go, Button Shy coming up with a Kickstarter for Tussie Mussy sometime in the next month.
And the next
30 days. Yeah.
Well, Jason's still around. Maybe he has a specific date.
Yeah, maybe Jason could tell us.
He can tell us the exact date. And then I have one other game that's signed with AEG that'll come out next year, and then we'll see what happens after that. And Wingspan expansions at some point. So I'm keeping busy.
Speaking of AEG, make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo. It helps us to get the word out about all of our upcoming shows, including Peter McPherson, designer of Tiny Towns. We talked about that earlier, which came out from AEG today. It was the street date today for Tiny Towns. So that is Tiny Towns from AEG. I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo, and until next time, Elizabeth, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.